Hello, welcome to the third in a series of shows focused on Brookline as an age-friendly community. The Board of Selectmen in 2012 established an age-friendly city committee based on the fact that the United Nations World Health Organization selected Brookline as its first community in New England to be included in the global network of age-friendly communities. The Age-Friendly Cities Project is committed to strengthening the already age-friendly features of public transportation in Brookline. And this show will focus on a fascinating new initiative related to the senior transportation services. The initiative is called STRAITS, Senior Transportation Resources, Advice, Information, Training, and Support. STRAITS is a new initiative just for seniors and adults with disabilities to provide advice and consultation on alternative ways to get around when they find themselves without the ability to drive. Our guest is Shirley Celeb. Shirley recently received an award from the Brookline CAN organization for the excellent work she performed in completing and setting up the STRAITS program.
STRAITS program at the moment is an idea on paper. We're getting ready to inaugurate the program probably within the next month. And it is an effort to provide information to people who we can call travel challenged. People who are having difficulty driving, maybe they can't drive so well at night, maybe they've had some limitation to their driving because of an accident. And maybe it's time for them to give up the keys. It could be any of those issues, and we're working with seniors as well as adults with disabilities to help them feel more comfortable using alternatives to driving their own car. So the idea is to be able to reach someone by phone, online, and to come into the senior center to get information about these alternatives. We have a program director on board who will be
Who is the program director?
She's very new. Her name is Carrie Hamburg. She will be starting soon. And her among her first responsibilities will be to make sure that we have a coterie of volunteers that can help her develop the resources and make sure they're accessible. We are going to have things online. We're going to have things on paper. We'll have programs that will run to introduce people to the various alternatives that are available to them. The STRAITS idea emerged because we heard about a funding opportunity. We had a transportation committee going for a couple of years looking at the various opportunities for transportation in Brookline, and we didn't have our arms around a project in particular, and we heard about this grant. Right. And decided to submit a proposal. The grant is called the Community Transit Grant. It was provided to us by the Mass Department of Transportation. It's funding through the Executive Offices of Health and Human Services in their transportation area. And there's a small paragraph in that application that allows for something called communications and resources. Most of the grant is for buying a bus. We're not about to buy a bus, but we are doing something that no one else is doing, and that is providing the resources and information in a way that no one has tried to do before.
Right. Well, this is something, I mean, it happens to be fairly close to me. I know someone recently who broke a leg and has been trying to travel to work for months without his car and trying various transportation devices. So if he had a place to go, that would have been wonderful. He kept calling us, discussing with various people, going wrong each time, having to learn the hard way. And I can see the real value in this. I mean,
right, I think you're right. I think every time...
Besides seniors, I mean, I'm a senior. I might give up my keys one of these days if someone
reluctantly, right?
But anything can happen to somebody where they don't drive for a period of time.
That's right.
So to me, this is really exciting. It's something I'm well aware of the need for. I also understood that Newton was involved in somehow, or
yes, we wrote the grant with the help of Ruth Ann Dobeck at the Senior Center, and with Jane Colino at the Newton Senior Center. And Carrie's role will be between both places. She'll spend a little more time in Brookline than in Newton, but she will be addressing the needs of both communities. We'll have volunteers working at both locations. And exactly how that will play out is what we're looking forward to figuring out. That's probably what's most exciting about this, is that everything is new, and we're modeling this with feedback from people in the community and with the talent that's already available to us. We have had wonderful response from various organizations that helped us get the grant, writing letters of support for us, including AAA and AARP and the Mass Office of Disabilities and so on, and a lot of town departments and individuals. And we have an integrated board, an advisory board that's already given us some feedback. It includes people who consult in transportation, as well as representatives from some of those organizations, both in the town and out. Adult services and disability services, and we're excited because there seems to be a lot of energy around this.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, just because the show was coming on, I've mentioned it to a few people, and they say, "How do you volunteer for that?" That was so, and we'll get into that. I want to get into that a little later, but because I think there are people out there that will want to volunteer.
Great.
So
it is except for our program director, it is an all-volunteer effort.
All volunteer.
Everything that's happened until now has been on a volunteer basis.
Great.
And that's incredible too. I'm a volunteer. That's right.
But you're saying everybody else is too,
except for the program director. Yes.
And now, what about the physical site? Where is it going to?
Carrie will have a place to work out of the Senior Center, and we will probably use those facilities as we need them to have meetings, to get groups together. It won't be a specific room probably, but we'll use the rooms as everyone does when they're available.
Right.
And we'll eventually have everything online as well.
Right.
And the other piece that is kind of interesting is that some of this work will probably not have a physical location. People will practice using various kinds of transportation. They'll be out and about doing what they may be reluctant to do right now. Some people don't know how to get a Charlie card, for example. Some people don't know where to get off the T where there might be an elevator when they can't walk up the steps. Some people don't know where to go to get advice about giving up the keys. So we'll have that information available, and it won't really be at the Senior Center, it'll be out in the community. And some of the people that are helping us get this ready are people who provide those services.
Yeah, that's kind of difficult. I mean, when you actually think about going to the different stations, me, the driver, but I have a Charlie card, and every once in a while there's a reason or some reason I want to look at transportation, public transportation to go someplace, and I've done it. But I always hesitate. It says change here, change there, and I say, is this a bus? What am I going to end up on at that point? And then I look at the times.
That's right. It takes
and
quite a bit longer.
Across the river, it's a 20-minute drive, and it's an hour and 5 minutes to get there by the spot I was going for.
Right.
So what about, it would really be nice if we can improve those times, or we can tell people, and I did find out actually there was a way around the long time. There was a little shorter one. But it took a lot of research, and I'm fairly high tech, in case you can't tell.
Right, that's the other piece of what we hope to provide, is that many people are unfamiliar or reluctant to use technology to figure out the solutions to these questions. So learning how to use maybe your smartphone or your computer to get information about when a bus or a subway is running. I, for example, have had an Uber app on my phone for years. I haven't used it yet, and young people are using it all the time. So it's that kind of symptom, perhaps, that comes with aging, that technology takes a little longer for us to absorb. And hopefully this effort will bring people together to talk about that, to feel more comfortable with it. It will be an important focus for us.
Great. What about setting it up? How long is this going to take? A little while, right? it sounds like
We've done some work over the summer.
Okay.
We've had some people pulling resources together, getting some information ready so that when this team of, with Carrie and the other volunteers gets ready, they'll have something to start working with. I think, you know, people will be patient in the beginning. If we don't have the answers to their questions right away, we'll find it, and then the next person will benefit from that effort. So
That's the way it
we're
works,
hoping
right.
to have a community of people who share these issues and who will get together to exchange ideas and experiences. A buddy system where people will help you get used to something you haven't done before.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's. I mean, we have in Brookline. I mentioned it before, and it's true. The Age-Friendly Cities Committee was selected largely on the basis of our availability of public transportation. So it seems to me if we can take advantage of that for seniors and for people who no longer can drive or for short periods, that would be a great enhancement of our age friendliness of all ages.
that's right.
And include all ages. in this.
Well, Brookline is blessed. Parts of Brookline, not
Right.
some parts of Brookline don't have access to the subway and to as many bus lines,
Right.
but we are testing this idea in an environment that's rather friendly to alternative transportation. And if we can show that what we're doing there is feasible and successful, then the hope is that it will be replicated in other environments. And then we'll have to adapt it to those environments.
So what is, speaking of success, what is the, what do you at least, and some of the people who are watching it, and what are they looking for to indicate success? I mean, what's the
We're
indicator?
actually working on that kind of analysis. We're going to be asking people to document their experiences with the recommendations that we give. So we'll know how successfully they've been able to change their behaviors or whether we've given them information that was appropriate.
Great.
We're going to be documenting how many people, of course, come to our programs, which is a typical kind of documentation. But mostly it will, the success I think will be in knowing that we're providing a service that people are interested in,
Right.
and that there's support to continue doing it. We hope to test this over at least a 3-year period, and then we'll take a look and see where to go after that.
So a 3-year period of testing, and that would be Newton, the regional area,
Right.
Brookline and Newton.
Brookline and Newton, yes. We have a plan that's been written. In order to get this grant, we had to have a plan, a work plan,
Right.
and it documents what we expect to have accomplished after 1 year and 2 years and so on. And
So it's all in the hands of Carrie Hamburg,
Carrie
program
Hamburg
director.
and her
And our crew.
volunteers.
And all her volunteers. And
Right.
that's one thing we have done in Brookline. I think we bring out a lot of volunteers.
We do.
The Brookline, the Community Aging Network and everything. This is the kind of thing that makes us age friendly, I think, and enhances it. So I guess I'm thinking about what can go wrong. I don't know if you've done that, but that is my job. And I'm trying to think of some of the things that you'd be concerned about in looking at this. Is it
Well, your first concern when you start a new effort is that people will actually come.
right?
And I'm thinking that they will, because every time I've had an opportunity to talk about it, there's been someone with a new way of thinking about it and some ways that they would like to be involved.
Right.
So I think that will happen, but you never know. So
Well, we might be able to help with that if we can
Right.
have some, as it progresses, we can have
Right.
some more shows on it.
So we hope it'll, be welcomed by the community and that people will see how helpful this can be. We will have to continue to raise funding to support the program and to do some of the work that we hope to achieve, even though the work might be done by volunteers. There are things like designing websites and so on that need some skill and probably an investment. So we have an ongoing need to get more funding.
Right.
But basically, I think it's
So it's volunteers, customers, and funding.
customers, money, same thing any
Sounds
other
familiar.
effort needs. Yeah.
But I think this has it really, I mean, from the few people I've talked to, everyone jumped on it. I even heard people saying they wanted to volunteer. And I said, well, wait, I don't think there's anything here yet.
Not yet. Not yet. It's
So,
coming
but,
soon.
But who would they contact? If they
Well,
wanted to
for volunteers, we're working with Patricia over at the Senior Center in Brookline, who runs the volunteer center. If you call the main number at the Senior Center, they will direct you to her, and she has a process of interviewing volunteers, finding out what they're interested in,
Okay.
and finding out if they're suited to the roles that we will tell her as we need them.
What's her name again?
Patricia.
Patricia. Great. So that's pretty good. So that people can call in now, basically.
They can.
And start discussing it
They
and
can.
start finding out what they can be doing
That's
and what
right.
they might be interested in doing in the future.
For example, we will need people to identify all these resources. We're going to be looking at the MBTA and the buses and everything else that's out there in a slightly different way. If you look now online or in some of the other places where these resources are listed, they'll tell you what they are, where they go, how much they cost. We're going to use something more than that. It's a kind of analysis that looks at how user-friendly these services are.
Oh, that's a good
So
idea.
they'll look at things like adaptability, acceptability, accessibility, availability. It's, more personal evaluations of
yeah.
people's experience with these services.
Well, because that's really important because
It is.
the feeling of getting, I've heard people say, I would take the bus, right, but I don't know, I'm in streets and I'm not, and then people on the T sometimes hesitate to get on if they
Right.
have any walking issues or
Right.
because crowds will push and shove and they want to know what they can do. Where can they sit?
That's
Is there a
right.
place to sit? Is there a place
Right.
to do things?
So hopefully
yeah.
we will need volunteers to start gathering that kind of feedback.
Right.
How user-friendly are these services? Every time we look at this effort, there's some new project, some new transportation initiative that's come along now that we want to be sure we know about. So we're going to need information gathering volunteers.
Right.
And then once we get started, we're going to have people who will answer people's questions, who may be a buddy to help them do something for the first time. There are a lot of people in this community who use the public transportation on a regular basis.
Right.
And some have already told us they'd be happy to let others know how to do that.
Yes, Mike Dukakis was at the
Yes,
same
yes,
session that you were
yes.
at.
We
And,
had an interesting offer. Someone said there's a new Target near the Fenway.
Right.
And if anybody wants to know how to get there on the T, she'd be happy to show them.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
A Target?
So people have come up with some interesting ways to help out. And all ideas
Fenway
will be
itself
heard.
is a good. How do we get there?
Right.
Yes, but yeah, that's pretty good. I myself, my volunteer to take rides on the buses. I take less buses than I do the T.
Right.
And I would certainly love to take those rides and report on it. So
Right.
you're going to get a volunteer, I think. A little
Yeah,
bit, at
well,
least.
one of the services that I learned about in the process of preparing this proposal was a program called Ways to Go, where they will actually teach you
Really?
how to use public transportation. They work in Boston and Brookline and Newton,
Oh, that's great.
and if you're having a problem with getting to some place, let's say on a regular basis, you want to get to a religious service,
Okay.
or maybe you're still working and you have to know how to get there now on public transportation, they will look at that route carefully
Right.
with you and practice with you until you're comfortable doing it.
Oh, that's great.
So that's a great resource for us.
Yeah.
There's another great resource where people can go and be evaluated to see if they should be making adjustments to their driving practices.
Oh, really?
Or if it's time maybe to stop driving.
Right.
So that will not be done by our volunteers, but we are learning about what's out in the community.
That's
That
pretty
can
good.
help us.
Yeah, that's pretty important, actually. It's
Right.
been the ways we usually find out are not good ways.
That's right. We want to find some things out before it's too late.
Before it's too late, right?
Right.
Before something happens. So it's no, I appreciate that. So let's see. So we're gonna be in it's gonna call a travel advisory center. Is that what you're still calling it? I saw that.
Well,
in
it's called the
old
Straits
literature.
Center right now.
Straits Center. Okay.
I'm not sure whether we'll just call it the Straits Center because it's not.
Carrie, right?
It's right. Carrie will help decide that. Maybe a focus group will help decide that.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
But it's transportation, travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what it means now.
Good.
I know what it means. Seniors, transportation, resources, advice, information, training, and support.
Good. You pass.
And I can't think of any one of those things that isn't needed separately. So it's a great name. Plus, Straits is just, love the name. Everybody
We were
I talked to.
discussing the meaning of straits. Usually it is used with the word dire. And for some people, giving up the keys or
It's not a
not
strait.
being able to be independent with your own car is a dire strait.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of behind the meaning of the word.
So I live up a very steep hill, and I would like to put a service in town that deals with people who are on hills and don't drive anymore, which I do, but there may be a day, that just deals with the fact of being necessary to get into town, just a back and forth
Maybe we
service to
should
get into
try
town.
sleds.
Yeah. Well, it works pretty well. Last winter, there was no problem. You just step out your door and you're down at the bottom of the hill. So, very, very easy. We had no problem at all. Getting back up was another story.
Right.
Okay. Is there anything else that I want to make sure before I reach the point of closing? Is there anything else that you want to make sure that you tell people about
Well,
Straits?
we are going to give them a way to contact the senior center,
Yes.
right?
Yes, that will be, I think we're displaying it, or we will be displaying it on the screen.
Okay,
So that's good.
I don't know the number by heart, but anyone who has questions about this should call the Brookline Senior Center. And Carrie will be having office hours there probably in a few weeks, and you
Okay.
can leave messages for her.
And can we leave messages just with the people that are covering it? I mean, will
The
they
people
have
answering the phone, yes, they know
Great.
that this is coming up.
Okay, excellent. And Carrie, you don't know exactly when she'll be there?
Not yet.
Okay, great. But they will know at the senior center.
They will know, yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to prepare to not give them up my keys yet, but I'm going to prepare to take public transportation, all the places I would ordinarily drive,
Oh, good.
and
Well,
start reporting it down
we
to the
should
senior
get
center.
some people to go with you. You can have a party.
Okay. I think
And then
that's-
you report back. It's a new way of having a little focus group, right?
That's not a bad idea. Things like, we would drive downtown, we'd drive to the Symphony, we'd
Right.
drive to Cambridge,
Right.
we'd drive to Watertown.
We'll give you a little notebook. You can keep score and take notes on what happens and let us know.
I'm not sure I was committing to. Okay, well, we're reaching towards the end, and I think we're going to, unless there's anything else you want
I
to do,
think
I'd
I'm
like
good.
to wrap up. Great. So I want to thank everybody that was here and joined us tonight. As you know from the past, this program will be broadcast over the next several weeks and throughout the month, and you can see it on Big. In addition, the programs will be available on YouTube and will be available on the Big website, and will also be available on the Brookline Can Twitter and Facebook accounts, and the Brookline Can website, actually, point out. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and thank you, Shirley. You were just wonderful.
Thanks for having me.